Greetings, what is up and everyone, welcome to the channel. The sun is setting and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle fresh from the top of the ladder featuring spawning in the east. It's going to be the Wehrmacht forces of punctuation mark, full stop, dot, one of those. And a spawning in the west, playing as the Soviet forces. It is going to be Artem 89. And I'm going to have to do my very best this cast not to like rampantly be a Soviet fanboy, because I just don't know what's happened to me recently, but I just seem to be loving Soviets. Yeah, looks like the map here is going to be Kolodny Farm, and as these players move on out around the map and conduct their business in the opening stages of this game, I'm going to talk about the World Championship Series, because today is Monday the 18th, and the World Championship Series concluded yesterday. Now, I'm actually not going to go into spoilers, not specific spoilers anyway, because I reckon there's probably a large amount of people out there who haven't had the time to go and watch those games. It's obviously playing a best of 5 in Company of Heroes takes quite a long time, and the semi-finals, the third place match, you know, the finals, a lot of that was best of 5. So that was a long old stream. It was a lot of games. The casters, the players, all very fatigued, and you know. So, yeah, I reckon there's definitely people watching who won't have had time to go back and watch those games, and they were so very good. I heartily recommend, if you're into Company of Heroes, go check out the Twitch. There's a link on the front page of Company of Heroes right now, and there's or you can just go and search for AE or Stormless's Twitch, and you'll find these games. They were so good. Totes go and watch them. I was so happy because, okay, non-specific spoilers. I'm not going to talk about players and who won or how the matches went or anything, but I will talk about some things I observed in terms of factions being used, commanders being used, how the meta was, and that sort of stuff. So, if you don't want to be spoiled as far as that sort of stuff goes, definitely hit pause, go watch the World Championship Series games, then come back here a little bit later, because Soviets, man. Soviets were getting played at the top end of the meta. I was so impressed and really happy because, I mean, it's fair to say we've kind of been used to seeing US dominate, certainly just on the ladder. And I don't know, I think possibly before the World Championship Series, if you'd have asked your average Company of Heroes player, fan, or sort of top-level player, what was the best allied faction, what was the most powerful, I think a lot of people probably would have told you US. Not everybody, but I think a lot of people would have told you US. And certainly it seems like out on the ladder, US have been overrepresented in the meta and have been, you know, dominating really hard. So it was awesome to see Soviets at the top end of the meta. It seems that Soviets in the sort of late, in the true late game, almost if you would think about it, almost in the end game, when... Actually, you know what, endgame's the wrong phrase, but in the late game, the proper, true late game, where both players have had access to all of the best units, and, you know, there's massive armies being thrown around, you're seeing Tiger tanks versus IS-2s and that sort of thing. Turns out Soviets actually really flourished there. So that was so exciting to see. I was really happy about that. And Artem 89 has possibly been taking some notes from the World Championship. Oh, that's a squad wipe on some Pioneers. Artem 89 here has possibly been taking some notes from the World Championship Series, because he's using a commander which, for me, I mean, this is one of the oldest commanders in the game. It's a very vanilla commander. And it's always been a strong commander. I've always respected his presence in the game and in the meta. But I don't think I realized exactly how powerful this commander can look in the hands of the very, very best players in the world. The combination of the IS-2 in the late game, and amazingly enough, this IL-2 Sturmovik attack, where it comes in and uses the machine guns, is so powerful. If you can provide the line of sight, ideally using, say, a 3-star T-70 to provide epic line of sight, these IL-2 Sturmoviks will mow down serious amounts of Axis infantry and provide a really good opening for you to come in with your T-34-85s and your IS-2 and smash some Axis face. And there's just not actually another Soviet commander who really has that combination of ingredients. The vehicle crew repairs are also amazing, and the oh wow, getting another wipe down here on the on those. Engineers, nicely done there for full stop. But yeah, no other Soviet commander really has such a sort of potent combination of ingredients for that exact playstyle. And yeah, the vehicle crew repairs are also relevant. The radio intercept, in the hands of a very top tier player who actually has the spare attention to be listening to those radio intercepts and adapting their playstyle based on the intel provided, that's pretty important. I mean, for example, if your opponent builds a Stuka-Zafus or a Panzerwerfer or something like that, knowing that your opponent has it for that first barrage and not, I mean, that can literally be game-changing. That's so big. And seeing the top players sort of roll with this information is just so cool. I also think it's fair to say that although on a day-to-day basis I like to cast, the top games on the ladder. Oh look, we got a little macabre romance, these two guys just having a last waltz on their way out. Yeah, although I try to cast the top games, and I occasionally do come across a truly great battle between two of the very best players in the game, what the World Championship Series has really demonstrated to me is that there exists, at the top end of the players, a meta unto itself. And I think if you're just a very good player, like a really good player at this game, and you go on ladder and play American USF, you will get a good win rate, and you will do very well, and that's great. But in this sort of very special top of the top meta, I think players, the skill level is there where actually it gets to the late game more often because the players are more evenly matched and they're both very highly skilled. And in that sort of late game environment, OKW actually kind of crushes USF. And I mean, I know that's sort of elementary, but in practice we don't see it that often on the ladder. But then when you get these players who are just so good, are these conscripts going to go down? Oh no. When you get these players that are just so good, USF actually starts becoming a bit of a worrisome pick, and Soviets just have a much more muscly late game that's really cool to see. So that for me was kind of revelatory. It was just lovely to see some of the players, some of the biggest top names who I hold dear, just doing their thing, going at each other in earnest for life-changing, potentially life-changing amounts of money. No, it wasn't like huge amount. It wasn't like insane. Nobody's going to be set for life or be able to retire off the back of that tournament. But I mean, if you're a student or if you're a young person playing Company of Heroes, that is a life-changing amount of money, no doubt. So, yeah. The story, the human drama, the games, it all came together beautifully. I think you probably all owe it to yourselves to watch the third place match and the finals. If you don't watch any of the other games, I would say go and watch those games. You're unlikely to see better Company of Heroes 2 for some time. Although I always strive to bring you the best Company of Heroes 2, I can't always organise a $20,000 tournament, so, I do my best here on the channel, and sometimes we do get games of that calibre, and that's kind of what I live for in a way. The hope and the chance of that is very exciting, but yeah. I'm telling you guys, those games are amazing, and you should go and check them out. Anyway, this has kind of been like eight and a quarter minutes here of me just waffling on about the World Championship Series. In the next video I make, which I'm hoping, well, it might be tomorrow, might be the day after, we'll have to see. I will probably talk more specifically about exactly who won and how the interactions between some of the players went and how. What surprised me and what didn't, but I'm gonna leave it very generic and stop talking about the World Championship Series for now, because I respect that a lot of people probably won't have had the time to watch it. So let's turn our attention to this game here. We've had a lot of squad wipes going down. These two players really going at it in earnest, but it certainly looks as though Dot here is taking the better end of the mid game. Well, the early mid game that we're starting to approach now has had the better end of the early game. Let's put it that way. This army roster in the top left I much prefer over this very depleted roster in the top right. This clown car as well is in some jeopardy here. So obviously we had a special rifle company, we've had penal battalions on the field. Oh dear me, this clown car is in severe jeopardy. This flame half-track having to run for now because the PTRS toting penals. Oh no. Okay, so if those penals fall back, can the flamethrower half-track just roast them? I take that as a yes. Oh, sorry, no, this is the Axis player's base. Okay, I was totally wrong. But anyway, in any case, Artem's going to concede, has suffered far too many losses, so we're just going to hop into another one here, because that was a bit of a non-game there. The Soviet player getting off to a poor start, kind of fell over on the starting blocks there. Hey, Company of Heroes is a hard game. You can, or let me speak from experience. I can definitely lose within the first 10 minutes. I've felt that. Alright, so let's see what else we got here. We got Korean, John, Robert Bolton vs. Chun. What is this on? Ooh, I don't recognize this map. Interesting, alright. Let's see who else we got here. Actually, no sort of big names or anyone that I really know, so I'm going to jump into this one here. And whilst it loads up, because it's still fresh in my mind and I'm hyper enthusiastic and excited about it, I'm going to talk about the World Championship Series again. Vermac forces were not seen very much. Now, they were seen. They were played. But I would say it was like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 Axis picks were onto the Vermacs. And I honestly think that that's an accurate reflection of the relative strengths of the Axis factions. It does sadden me to say. And I'm not saying that Ostia is objectively or empirically a less powerful faction than Over Command West. But I am going to say that on average, the way that games play out, the way Company of Heroes 2 is built, the way players play, and the way people understand and implement the meta on the ladder and at any stage in the game, OKW are a safer bet. You can do very powerful things with Ostia, but if you want the best or the safest chance of having a really good shot at winning the game, OKW just offers so much, and Grand Defensive Doctrine as well is a little bit revolutionary for OKW. I mean, it's just very strong. OKW has plenty of other good commanders, and Panzer Fusiliers, and to some extent even the functionality of the Tiger, you can find elsewhere for OKW. But that precise combination of elements that Grand Defensive Doctrine brings to the OKW faction it's very strong. And we saw the top players in the game express their preference for that commander consistently. And it turns out, if you can get a Tiger 1 to 5-star vet, that rate of fire on that chassis, which is much more maneuverable than the Tiger 2, it's dominating. It is dominating. Once that Tiger 1 gets vetted up, because I mean, actually on the channel here in the wild, I've actually never caught a 5-star Tiger 1 tank. It's just not happened yet. But having seen what it's capable of, its line of sight is immense. Its accuracy is intense. The gun hits with a lot of power, and seldom does it not penetrate. But most scary of all, the rate of fire on a 5-star Tiger. It's like, I'm sorry, is that a T-70? Like, it shoots so quickly. Like, I was watching it play, and I was trying to imagine in my head a team of dudes inside that tank. I think they had 5 dudes inside of a Tiger 1, but it's been a long time since I've looked up on that. So, but just trying to imagine them all coordinate that action. I mean, obviously this is a video game. There's no way in real life a Tiger tank could really output fire that rapidly, or at least not. Maybe with enough coffee and enough on the line, maybe some humans could make a Tiger tank fire that rapidly, but not effectively under combat circumstances. Like, it's just impossible. It's just not possible. That Tiger tank was just firing. It just looks insane. You have to see it to believe it. So, yeah. So now we know. OKW, Tiger 1, when it gets to 5 stars, just danger. Danger, allied players. But another thing that I was quite happy to see, actually, in the World Championship Series, I've noticed a recurring theme in my commentary about Company of Heroes is that I am often wishing that players would go for tank destroyers more often, and I'm often surprised that we don't see more tank destroyers, and I'm often surprised that when we do see tank destroyers, sometimes I just think players' decision making is a little bit off. Like, either they're a bit they don't have the most experience using those tank destroyer units. I'm talking about the Jagdpanzer IV and the Su-85 principally, actually. Let me specify. Those are the 2 units I'm really talking about here, because they're quite similar, those 2 units. You use them in fairly similar ways. Yeah, and I was somewhat vindicated to see that at this very top end of the meta, the very best players were bringing in tank destroyers at timings that I thought were good, and supporting them appropriately, and using them in ways that we all know to be effective, that we all know to be the best way to use these units. But to see it actually done in a game, like, consistently and really well, I don't know, it was just really good. I feel somewhat vindicated, basically, that my feelings about these units are accurate. Like, if you bring in an Su-85 at the correct timing and manage it correctly, you can beat a Tiger tank. You can beat any Tiger tank, even a 5-star veteran OKW Tiger tank. In fact, you can make that unit look a little bit not that great. Like, you can limit its effectiveness and manage it such that the Axis player is really pushed to find to find value with that unit. You know, it's spending so much time repairing, so much time off the line. It almost represents such a liability, because if they lose it, that's usually the game. So anyway, and it was also, you know, nice to see a Jagdpanzer being used and brought out at the correct timings and things. I still think that, at least on the ladder in the games that I cast, certainly the Su-85 and the Jagdpanzer, and to a lesser extent the Firefly, and possibly the Jackson, but because the Jackson is really the US's only unit that can sort of effectively deal with Panthers and Tigers in a very mobile way anyway. So to a lesser extent the Jackson, but yeah, definitely the other more conventional tank destroyers. Yeah, it's just nice to see that my thoughts about them are correct, I suppose. Great, I've just spent like at least a minute or so talking about how I was right about something. Woo, yeah. So, I guess, hey, pros of having your own channel. I get to talk about whatever I want to talk about, and right now I'm talking about how I'm so smart. Haha, woo. Anyway, right, let's turn our attention to this game now. We're 5.5 minutes in. Interesting stuff is beginning to happen. We've got Lieutenant Tech here for the American player. 50 cal is on the roster. And as we can see, the minimap is turning quite red. A triple cap has been established, and momentarily here we're going to have double fuel for the American player. And that tells us, of course, that the early game is going swimmingly. The water is fine, and Chun here is getting stuck right in. You know, actually, I didn't even do any player intros, so let's get to that. Spawning in the south, playing as the Wehrmacht forces, it's going to be John Robert Bolton. And spawning in the north, playing as the American forces, it's going to be Chun. Okay, there we go. Good stuff. Looks like John Robert Bolton's gone ahead at this early juncture and picked one of the lesser spotted commanders. Is this the German infantry doctrine? Is that what we got here? Yeah! Nailed it! Alright, this is always one of the ones that I have a harder time remembering, because he's got a relatively generic face. Like, there's quite a few capped, like becapped German commanders, and German infantry doctrine is like the most generic sounding name in like just ever, so sometimes I have a hard time remembering him. But anyway, yep, John Robert Bolton's going to go ahead and pick that one for now, so he's going to be able to have those 5-man squad upgrades and call in stormtroopers should he wish to. And what is this for the Fatherland thing? Sorry, Assault and Hold, that's the one. Sorry, for the Fatherland, of course, is the OKW one. And the frag bombing run later on. Looks like Chun here gonna be picking the Pershing commander, which is pretty much the de facto most used, most meta US commander for very good reasons. All of these abilities are fantastic, except perhaps for combined arms. But having said that, we did get to see combined arms used a little bit in the World Championship series, and it didn't look terrible. So I'm still not convinced that it's in the right place. I'm still not convinced it should cost 125 munitions, or if it does cost that much, perhaps it should function a little differently. Those are just my thoughts, but it was nice to see that it's not useless, so that's cool. Looks like we've got 2 squads of Panzer Grenadiers going to get mixed into the roster here for John Robert Bolton, who needs to do something. I mean, you can see on the minimap, things looking dire. Has finally reclaimed his fuel point down here, but the other's about to get cut off. Rifleman in a really pesky position here. This is annoying, to say the least. So let's check out the army here for Robert Bolton. We've got 2 MG42s, 2 Grenadiers, 2 Panzer Grenadiers. There's actually nothing wrong with this roster. I like it, but I mean, just suffering as Wehrmacht often do in the early game here, getting shoved around by Chun. USF, ever the muscly faction in the early and mid game, and Lieutenant, BAR equipped rifleman, and a 50 cal in support, just really pulling their weight, flexing their muscles out here. I'm always a little bit skeptical. Or let me put, I'm not always a bit skeptical, but I have learned to be a little bit skeptical when Wehrmacht players go for double Panzer Grenadier in the early game. And I'm going to clarify early game as like sub 10 minute mark for the purposes of this point that I'm making. Panzer Grenadiers are very expensive. They're like 40 odd manpower per guy who dies, and they cost, what, 340? How much do they cost to bring in? Sorry, I'm so rusty. Yeah, they are 340. Nailed it. Okay. So they are expensive. So that represents like 100 extra manpower over a Grenadier squad per squad. So that's 200 extra manpower he's paid for these premium 2 squads. That is a whisker off of being able to pick another MG42 or a mortar tube or another squad of Grenadiers or just something like that. So basically by taking these 2 squads of Panzer Grenadiers, you have almost like you're a squad down effectively on what you might normally have, Even Pioneers actually do even fit that 200, so, you are literally a Pioneer squad down, but you're 40 manpower off of being a proper combat squad down. and you're providing your enemy with very juicy targets. Like, Panzer Grenadiers are really, really, really juicy targets. Having one squad of Panzer Grenadiers, I think, is fine. They can diversify your roster, they can spearhead an assault, they can set up a really good flank, the bundle grenade is useful, STGs are useful in the right place at the right time against USF. There's a really good place for Panzer Grenadiers, and of course, you know, sometimes we see Wehrmacht players opt to use the Panzerschrecks on them, and that's another fine use for that squad. But when you have two of them, then they're forming so much of your pushing infantry. You're being bled so hard. The USF player will very frequently be able to fire on these units, and that can be a real problem. You're feeding veterancy, you're being bled heavily on manpower, and I think Wehrmacht, more so than OKW, have problems managing manpower. Well, I don't know more so than OKW, but manpower is an essential resource for any faction, let's put it that way. And I just think it is a... Oh, he just lost a Grenadier squad, sorry I missed that. I just think it's an awkward gambit. Oh no. I just think it's an awkward gambit to be taking to go for two Panzer Grenadier squads so early, and I've not seen it pay off or provide any meaningful utility. Like, if this is the plan, I don't understand the point of it. Let me put it that way. Anyway, MG42 here. That is game-breaking. Donating an MG42 to your American opponent at this juncture in the game, who's even going to escape with the rear Ash. That is horrible. This is going to be an almost impossible game now, I feel like, for John Robert Bolton. I don't want to speak too soon. He's stacking a lot of manpower, by the way, like a ton. Somebody needs to tell him he can't buy the Tiger yet. I mean, this is... I don't want to say it's irretrievable. Chun! Okay, so get some riflemen. That's a start. That's a start. Rangers on the field. Major Tech has finished. Oh my god. I mean, this is a tiny ragtag Wehrmacht force now who's suffered heavy losses. Versus... Oh no, watch out for these rifleman mines here, bro. Okay, he's going to be alright for now. Yeah, this is going to be a very, very, very tough game. Obviously, the double fuel income that the US player was able to secure in the early stages of the game has ramped them into a rather rapid major. This is like, what was that? It was like a 10.5 or... It was like sub 11 minute major, I think it was. Whoa, 222 just going to come in for a dive of ages. Really, really, really wants this rifleman. Gets him, so that's good. In the nick of time as well. So, gonna trade out your 222 for a rifleman squad. Okay. I think normally that's a terrible choice. If you've just wiped one of your opponent's rifleman squads, which did happen here with the bundle grenade, and then you're trading out your 222 for a second rifleman squad, you know, obviously wiping out two squads of the same type off of your opponent's roster hurts a lot more. It reduces their diversity, and just American players need riflemen throughout all stages of the game, and they rely on those rifleman squad vetting up as the game goes on, so... There is more utility. It is wiping that the value of wiping that second squad is greater than the value of wiping that first squad. So that is a consideration. However, I still don't think it actually justifies trading out your 222 even for a second rifleman squad. There's an interesting sort of what would you call it? It's an interesting... It's not a mechanic, because it's not put in by designers of games. It's a feature, I suppose. A characteristic, yes. There's an interesting characteristic of RTS games and sort of conflict-related interactions in general, which not a lot of people actually are like super cognizant of, but I read up on when I was like a wee kid in the days of Command & Conquer and when I was playing Warhammer and stuff. And it's super interesting, actually. If you have two of a unit, that is actually 4 times more effective, not twice as effective. It's 4 times more effective for various reasons that I won't go into right now, but mathematically it's 4 times as effective. Basically, the dynamics of this effect is created because if you have 2 of the unit, you kill your enemies twice as fast, and if you're killing things twice as fast, you take half as much damage. So if you come out of every fight having taken half as much damage and killed things twice as fast, then your mathematical effectiveness comes out of 4 times, basically, and that ramps up. Now, that's assuming that you're doing damage and taking damage in a very linear one-for-one manner. Company of Heroes 2 is a bit more complicated than that, but the principle holds true. That's why it's more valuable to wipe out your opponent's second squad of riflemen, by the way. So, yeah, I just thought I'd like talk about that briefly. For those of you who are interested, I might try and like find a link and post it in the description. It's just very interesting once you realize like how the dynamics of damage-dealing units with HP values sort of function. Sorry, I don't want to like nerd out too hard on everyone, but yeah. it's also not something that I was really prepared to explain. I've just like let my mind wander onto that subject, so kind of like touching on something that's possibly too complicated for me to properly cover whilst maintaining a camera and trying to focus on a game, which I really should focus back on. Somehow this Axis player has managed to like get some more grenadiers. He's holding just about, like, the minimum that you need to hold usually in a game of Company of Heroes in the early and mid game to have any hope later on is one fuel point and one of the victory points. If you can do that, then the game is usually winnable at some point. You'll have a chance at victory, assuming like everything doesn't fall apart and you lose all your units. And John Robert Bolton, oh no though, oh no, Tommy Gun Rangers getting on top of these Panzer Grenadiers. But yeah, John Bolton just about meeting my minimum requirements for having a hope in this game by, you know, having a victory point, having a fuel point for patchy amounts of the early and mid game. Down at 221 right now, under 488, so obviously Chun heavily in the ascendancy, looking good right now. We've got a Panzer IV coming. Chun is stacking fuel, so can go for a Jackson first, or just keep saving for the Pershing, which is probably fine. If you do keep saving for the Pershing, of course, there's going to be a window of time where the Panzer IV is able to roam the field without any significant armoured opposition. But I think if you're the if you're the US player, you're probably okay with that. Actually, you know what? Sorry, I just assumed he'd side tech to Captain, but that's not the case, is it? Captain was never taken. Captain. Yeah, you can tell how well I know American forces because every time I come to the base to check on things, I'm like, which building does the thing? USF is like my least played faction by an astronomical margin. I just never touch them. I love watching them. I just can't stand playing as them. Anyway, so yeah, no, Captain was never Tech 2, so M1 anti-tank guns not going to be an option here. So this Panzer IV is going to have, you know, some opportunities here. Here it comes now, just rolling out onto the field. There are mines in various positions. There's one metal detector in the Axis roster. It's standing around at base, along with a number of full health squads, actually. This is a little bit inefficient here. Guys, there we go. Okay, so... Oh no, this MG42 just not... These riflemen going to be able to get a flank. Actually, no, overlapping fields of fire. There's a bunker back here? Oh my goodness, Magpie, you need to pay more attention. Okay, so there's a bunker, somehow, just randomly. We've got a big fight being taken here on the doorstep of the Axis player's base. That's a squad of Rangers, sorry, with Tommy guns going down. Ouch. And while the American player won't have access to the M1 anti-tank gun, they are going to have access to bazooka experts. Yikes! Getting another wipe on this M50. That's pretty nice. M2HB 50 cal, I should say. So, okay. Alright, John Robert, making some moves. I see you. This is nice. Give him a taste. Let him know. You ain't out of this game yet. Maybe. We'll see. Oh no, it's going to get the MG42 as well. Nice. Alright, I believe that's Axis hardware. I'm going to repatriate that machine gun here. Wow. Okay, things just falling apart a little bit here for Chun, who is still a couple of minutes away from getting a Pershing and current income. Of course, Robert Bolton not with... Robert Bolton sounds definitely like they were a character in Game of Thrones or something. Robert Bolton, third of his name. Yeah, Robert Bolton here with what can only be described as a fairly ragtag assortment of units here. I would love to see him pick up this MG42 and the 50 cal, by the way, bro, because you could use those MGs. You really need that. You really, yeah, just you could use it. Oh no, the Panzer here, Panzer IV, falling foul of the Zook expert Rangers. They're no joke. Oh no, the lieutenant here with Zooks as well. Why are we diving into the base? I'm sorry. Do we want the ambulance? I mean, I think if you dive this far, you should definitely go in and take the ambulance. Your opponent doesn't have any other AT resources that you... Whoa, okay, we're going to dive. We're going to go for a U-turn. We take out the lieutenant. Okay, I'm going to hand in my casting license, guys. I'm just going to put my gun and my badge on the desk. I'm hanging up my hat. I don't even know Company of Heroes anymore. What am I seeing? What am I seeing? Well... If he leaves the game now, I just don't understand. Okay, he's not leaving the game. Alright. I was going to say, if you just drive your Panzer IV into the enemy base and have it blown up... I mean, he killed the lieutenant. I think you're probably fine to just drive back out then and just kind of... That Panzer IV is done okay. Take it home, repair it, be okay. But no... He's going to trade it into the base. If he just drives it into the enemy base there and then leaves the game, I would be like, what am I even watching? Okay, we're going to see a Stug strategy. Okay. Alright. Not convinced, but open to seeing what happens. This is Robert Bolton, you are confusing me, but you know, that's probably a good thing. You know, I never said I like to fully understand what's going on all the time.
We got a new unit ready and on the field.
There's definitely like an effect that I've observed in life, which is that I enjoy things a lot more when I do not have perfect information, or when I don't fully understand all of the variables, or when I don't have a full understanding of the situation, because then it's exciting. Then there are unknowns. Then I'm like engaged, and my mind is like sort of active and trying to figure things out. As soon as something becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not derivative. There's a mathematical word which is for like determinate. As soon as something becomes determinate, I'm just like, it's so much less interesting. And there are certain games where things just become determinate at various points. And as soon as that happens, yeah, it's so much harder to like be super interested. Okay, that's a Pershing. Pershing versus Stug. This is super ballsy Stug positioning, but he's actually going to see the Pershing off, taking only one hit. Okay. Pineapple comes down, but these G43 toting upgraded Grenadiers are going to be okay. The Stug is just, what? The Stug is totally duking with this Pershing. What? He comes forward? Are you insane, bro? Okay, this is a mistake. Somebody needs to tell Robert Bolton that there's a reverse mode on vehicles. You know, you can go backwards. Oh, he's found it now, but the 222 and the Panzer IV seemingly dying oblivious to this feature, and the Stug may well be punished for being very aggressive. He's going to get it back for now, but he's only got one squad of Pioneers for repairs. You know, if you're going to be this aggressive with your vehicles, it's okay. Trading health off your vehicles is fine. In fact, it's a very important skill for Company of Heroes 2 players to be able to judge. Are you going to lose your... Okay, he's alright. Yeah, knowing exactly how many hits your vehicles can take and being able to make the decision to take hits and trade health of your vehicles to further another goal or destroy enemy units, you know, whatever. That's fine, but I feel like in this example, that was too aggressive with the Stug, and especially when you've only got one repairing unit, that's going to take a very long time to repair. Yeah. God, this is a scrappy game, isn't it? Scrappy game. So Pat Gun here gets decrewed. Rifleman pretty good at that. Pershing gonna probably put the finishing touches on these Panzer Grenadiers unless they GTFO. God, guys, yeah, you have to respect the Pershing. It actually has like pretty phenomenal anti-infantry capabilities. Alright, so USF going to loot the Pat Gun, second Stug coming up, and this makes a ton of sense. Once you're in on the Stug plan, I think you have to get additional Stugs. Stugs are quite cool because they're cheap and they are effective against a wide variety of targets. You know, they'll punish infantry, especially once they get some veterancy, and they will punish armor right from the get-go. And even though a Pershing is, you know, the heaviest tank that the USF have access to, a Stug, as we've seen already, more than capable, even at Vet 0, of getting penetrating hits fairly often. Usually, I find with Wehrmacht, once you go for a Stug, unless it's an emergency panic Stug or something, but once you go for a Stug, like, Stugs support each other really well. If you've managed to keep one Stug alive and it's joined by a second or even a third, you can have this sort of wall of Stugs that's highly mobile, able to deal with almost any target, and yeah, it's one of my favourite Wehrmacht styles to play. Oh, nice frag bombing run, gonna get that one. Yeah, there was a time when I always used to keep a spotting scope commander on my roster, so that when it was time to go Stugs, I could, you know, have spotting scope Stugs, which are just awesome. But I mean, spotting scopes have changed, and that time is long past anyway. But yep, the Stug playstyle is one which I am familiar with and something of a fan of. All right. These Grenadiers are just... Okay, they're going to try and fall back, but they are quite clustered. Okay, the Pershing, they're going to roll a lucky miss here. Faust's going to connect onto the Pershing. Got mixed fighting going on elsewhere. Looks like Tommy Gun Ranger is going to be trying to get some damage onto this MG42, but not really succeeding. 154 right now for the Vermac player. The most scattered looking minimap. We've got units all over the place. The Stug is just being turbo ballsy again. Going to dive right on in here. It takes a tank buster grenade for its troubles. Pershing's going to be able to repair in situ. Bolton here just happy to leave the Stug doing nothing, which is awkward. Oh, sorry, that's a second Stug. My bad. Yeah, that's the second Stug. I mean, this game is kind of a mess, isn't it? Like, for both players. The USF player should just win. I mean, look at this army in the top right. Look at the army in the top left. Tell me who you think wins. I think, yeah, once this Stug gets taken care of, right now it's just being whittled down by anti-vehicle grenades, but now the Pershing's repaired, so here we go. That'll be a dead Stug. Dong, here we go. Okay, well, as soon as the Pershing rolls a hit. Is the other Stug in the hood? Alright, somehow the Stug's gun doesn't break. This is now 2 Stugs firing at this Pershing. That's okay. How is this Stug alive? Gonna need a tank buster grenade here, boys. Where's the cooldown at? There we go. Well, that is that. Okay then. How are Axis forces having this much run on the map? Like, it's kind of crazy. Also, this Stug needs to be miles away. Are you going to lose your Stug here? Okay, he's going to GG, and that makes a lot of sense. Alright, Robert Bolton, you tried, you came, you saw, you tried, you failed. There were numerous mistakes there made on both sides. I think a deep analysis of this game, probably there's not that much point in. I'm gonna hop out onto the live game ladder and see if there's anything else that looks worthwhile. See if there are any big names. Yeah, I mean, you know, not the highest tier of game there, which is fine. You know, I enjoy casting games of any level, and it was also interesting to take a look at a map that I'm not familiar with there as well. So, alrighty, let's go and see if we got one more here. We've got Ihito and Dis. I've definitely cast Ihito before. Oh, a Langraskaya game. Interesting, interesting. Squishy Muffins, Evil. Yeah, this one starts. The trouble is, this one starts in 6 minutes, and I've got about 40 minutes, so yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to get that one in because, yeah, it's well, there's no way of telling how long it will go. So I guess that's it for today. Well. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry we didn't have such an epic game, but you never do get a guarantee of an epic game when you're just casting off the live ladder. But that's what makes it so exciting for me. You never know what you're going to see, and that's part of the thrill. Yeah, I'm going to try and get some Deserts of Karak replays when I come to cast tomorrow if I have time. Tomorrow I'm going to the dentist, and then I've got Japanese school in the evening, which I need to get ready for, and of course I have to work, so it's unlikely that I'm going to be able to cast tomorrow, so that's Tuesday. But Wednesday should be a castable day, so hopefully I can bring some Deserts of Karak on Wednesday. That'll be splendid. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and this for now, Magpie842 signing out.